Take your support to the next level by joining our Patreon. If you love these original Sherlock Holmes videos, your financial backing helps us keep producing them. Plus, you get the amazing perk of listening to most stories before they drop on YouTube. The link to our Patreon is in the description below. The Case of the Matilda Briggs and the Giant Rat of Sumatra. It was a particularly dismal evening near the end of April. A late-season chill had descended upon London, bringing with it a relentless driving rain that washed the soot from the rooftops and left Baker Street gleaming under the gaslight. I, Dr. John Watson, found myself seated by the fire, a volume of tropical diseases open on my lap, though my gaze frequently strayed to my friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. He was engaged in one of his periodic fits of restless inactivity, sprawled upon the sofa. His long, lean frame was draped in a dressing gown of questionable age, his hawk-like features made more prominent by the flickering firelight. A violin lay abandoned on the floor beside him, its mournful melody having ceased some time ago to make way for the profound silence of his contemplation. "The world, Watson," he declared suddenly, his voice startlingly resonant in the quiet room, "is a far more remarkable place than the average man in his comfortable rut is willing to admit. They see only the visible threads of the tapestry, completely blind to the monstrous, unseen looms that weave them." I merely grunted, accustomed to these enigmatic pronouncements. "And what extraordinary loom are you pondering this evening, Holmes?" He sat up, stretching languidly, and pointed a long finger at a small pile of recent newspapers on the table. "Observe, Watson, in the Daily Chronicle, a brief paragraph on a dockyard mishap near Millwall. In the Evening Standard, a mass hysteria incident causing disruption at Limehouse. And in the Pall Mall Gazette, a tersely worded denial from the Admiralty regarding unsubstantiated rumours of unnatural phenomena near the Isle of Dogs. All rather ordinary industrial accidents or public disturbances, surely," I ventured, though a slight tremor of unease began to stir within me. Holmes rarely drew attention to such mundane occurrences without a deeper purpose. "Ordinary, you say? Ah, Watson, your admirable devotion to the commonplace blinds you. Note the swiftness with which these disparate incidents were reported, and then, more notably, the even swifter and more absolute manner in which they were suppressed. We see no further details, zero follow-up, merely a wall of official silence. That lacks the signature of a common street brawl or a dropped crate. It bears the hallmark of something extraordinary, something the authorities wish to bury deeper than the Thames mud." Before I could press him further, a sharp rap echoed through the rooms. Our landlady, Mrs. Hudson, presently announced the arrival of Inspector Lestrade of Scotland Yard. The inspector bustled in, his usually assured demeanour somewhat ruffled, his bowler hat clutched nervously in his hands. "Holmes, Dr. Watson," he greeted, his eyes darting between us. "Forgive the intrusion at such an hour. I find myself in a devil of a pickle, and the Yard, as usual, prefers to pretend the pickle does not exist." "Pray sit, Lestrade," Holmes said, gesturing to a chair. "It seems we were just discussing your predicament. Unburden yourself." Lestrade mopped his damp brow with a handkerchief. "It's this business down at the docks, Holmes. Officially, it's nothing. A few broken crates, some frightened longshoremen, a minor incident of food poisoning. Unofficially, he leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Unofficially, something monstrous happened. We have the toughest old salts talking of devils and curses. "Details, man, details," Holmes urged, his eyes gleaming with an unholy light. "Very well. It began 3 nights ago. The Matilda Briggs, a merchant vessel registered to Sir Reginald Thorne's Sumatra shipping line, arrived from the East Indies. A rather unremarkable cargo, on paper. Spices, silks, a quantity of exotic hardwoods. During the unloading, however, pandemonium erupted near shed C-14. Men were screaming, timbers splintering, accompanied by an unholy stench. Several porters were injured, some quite severely, with broken bones and vicious lacerations suggesting the savagery of a wild beast. "Animal attacks," I interjected, surprised. "What kind of animal could cause such damage in the heart of the London docks?" "That's the rub, Dr. Watson," Lestrade exclaimed, throwing up his hands. "The official report speaks of a runaway dray horse, whereas the witnesses, those who haven't been persuaded to forget, tell a wildly different tale. They speak of a creature of titanic proportions, a shadowy form moving with impossible speed, with eyes like burning coals, and a maw that could swallow a man whole. One fellow, a veteran dockmaster named O'Malley, swore it was the devil's own rat, bigger than a bloody pig. It vanished into the night, leaving a trail of destruction, followed by total silence. We received no police report and mounted no investigation. A team of grim-faced men from the Admiralty arrived within hours, silencing everyone, cleaning up and patching up the injured in profound secrecy. Holmes was now fully alert, his earlier languor entirely vanished. He paced the room, his long fingers steepled before him. A creature of immense size, unnatural speed, a devil's own rat, and Sir Reginald Thorne's shipping line. Fascinating. Thorne is a notorious collector of the rare and dangerous, in addition to his public role as a shipping magnate. His private menagerie in Surrey is whispered to contain specimens that would make a zoo curator blanch. Even Thorne wouldn't smuggle a beast like that into London, Lestrade protested, though his conviction sounded hollow. "Consider the thrill, Lestrade," Holmes challenged. "The ultimate acquisition. A creature so extraordinary, so utterly unique, its very existence defies convention. The risk would only heighten the appeal for a man of Thorne's perverse tastes." Holmes leaned forward, his eyes burning with sudden intensity. "Now tell me, what physical evidence did you manage to glean before the shroud of secrecy descended?" Lestrade produced a small, grimy velvet pouch. "I found it wedged between some shattered timbers. The official line labelled it a splinter from a broken crate, leaving me thoroughly unconvinced." Holmes carefully took the pouch and emptied its contents onto a sheet of white paper. There were several shards of what appeared to be bone, strangely curved and of an unusual ivory hue, alongside a clump of coarse dark hair. He examined them with his magnifying glass, his expression unreadable. "Remarkable," he murmured. "Truly remarkable. The bone fragments suggest a powerful jaw structure, far beyond that of any known terrestrial rodent. This hair is coarse, incredibly thick, and imbued with a peculiar, musky odour. Watson, my dear fellow, you will fetch your medical bag. Lestrade, you will accompany us. We are going to the London docks." The docks, in the grey pre-dawn light, were washed by a cold April drizzle, presenting a study in purposeful desolation. A chill wind whipped in from the Thames, carrying with it the smell of brine, coal, and something indefinable, a lingering tang of wildness that sent a shiver down my spine. Holmes, disguised in a rough seaman's coat and a battered cap, moved with a fluid grace that belied his usual aristocratic bearing. I wrapped my stoutest overcoat tighter against the damp, doing my best to keep pace, while Lestrade plodded miserably behind us. The Matilda Briggs is still moored at berth 17, though most of its cargo has been hastily unloaded and whisked away, Lestrade informed us. A skeleton crew remains, guarded by men entirely unfamiliar to me, certainly outside the ranks of the river police. Holmes merely grunted, his eyes ceaselessly scanning the wet cobblestones, the warehouses, the very air. He led us directly to the site of the alleged mishap. Even after the meticulous clean-up, the evidence of some profound disruption remained visible to Holmes's keen eye. The ground was uneven, showing signs of heavy objects having been dragged, and the wooden planks of the quay bore deep gouges impossible for any ordinary wheeled vehicle to inflict. "Observe, Watson," Holmes whispered, pointing to a series of depressions in the mud. "These go beyond mere scuffs. They are distinct imprints. Note the peculiar splay, the weight distribution. Here, where the mud is softer, we see faint but unmistakable claw marks. 3 toes, remarkably robust, tipped with talons of considerable length and sharpness." He straightened, a grim satisfaction on his face. "And the stench, Watson? Can you smell it? Faint, perhaps, though quite distinct. An earthy, musky odour intertwined with a rank, almost reptilian undertone." I sniffed, my nose twitching. There was indeed a peculiar scent lingering in the damp air, like a wet earth cellar mixed with something wild and primordial. Holmes then turned his attention to the Matilda Briggs itself. The vessel was a stout, broad-beamed cargo ship, clearly built for endurance over speed. The men guarding the gangplank dressed in dark civilian clothes, their faces hard and unyielding. Holmes directed us to the far side of the dock, where a labyrinth of smaller vessels, barges, and fishing boats provided ample cover from their view. "They've attempted a thorough sanitation of the area," Holmes mused, peering through a gap in a stack of empty barrels. "Even the most diligent efforts cannot erase the history etched into timber and steel. That ship, my dear Watson, holds the key to our mystery." Under the guise of a casual stroll, Holmes circled the Matilda Briggs. He noted a section of the hull near the waterline painted a slightly different shade of black, betraying fresh work. Below it, just above the waterline, were faint scratches and gouges, as if something incredibly powerful had tried to force its way through the very wood. "This vessel, Lestrade," Holmes announced, his voice low, "transported a living specimen of extraordinary size and strength. A creature too large for the normal cargo holds, too dangerous to be contained within typical shipping crates. They built a custom enclosure, likely within the lower decks, heavily reinforced to withstand its power. The recent paint conceals the damage it inflicted during its panicked escape." Lestrade's eyes widened. "What could it be, Holmes? A tiger? An ape?" "The evidence points to something far more ancient and primal. A tiger would leave distinct claw marks. An ape would show signs of grasping and climbing. We are tracking something that burrows, gnaws, and wields immense bodily power." Holmes approached a small, disused access hatch near the stern of the ship. It was secured with a heavy padlock. This hatch leads to the lower storage compartments, perhaps even the ballast tanks. Far exceeding the standard issue for a merchant vessel, this padlock is a high-security mechanism. With a swift, almost imperceptible movement, Holmes produced a set of delicate tools from his coat. In a matter of seconds, the padlock clicked open. He motioned for us to follow. The interior of the Matilda Briggs was a gloomy labyrinth of narrow passages and echoing holds. The air grew heavier, warmer, imbued with the same peculiar scent we had detected on the dock. As we descended deeper, the sound of the Thames lapping against the hull grew distant, replaced by the creak of timber and the drip of condensation. Holmes led us to a large reinforced compartment in the ship's belly. The heavy steel door was buckled inwards, torn from its hinges, looking as if subjected to an explosion from within. Inside, the scene was one of utter devastation. Thick steel plating was ripped and twisted like paper, massive timbers were splintered, and the very deck was scarred with deep furrows. "Good heavens, Holmes!" I exclaimed, aghast at the sheer destructive power displayed. "What creature could possibly do this?" Holmes knelt, his magnifying glass once again in hand, examining the torn metal. "Observe the nature of the damage, Watson. The pattern of the rending, the deep punctures, the way the metal is peeled back. This damage requires immense leverage, combined with an incredibly powerful bite, far exceeding simple brute force. Look upon the splintered wood, at these unmistakable teeth marks. They lack the precision of a carnivore's incisors and the breadth of a herbivore's molars, occupying a terrifying middle ground. Enormous, chisel-like incisors, followed by powerful grinding cheek teeth, perfectly adapted for gnawing through the most resistant materials." He scooped up a fresh clump of the coarse, dark hair from a torn section of plating. "The scent is stronger now, almost suffocating in this enclosed space." "It's like nothing I've ever seen," Lestrade muttered, a look of genuine fear dawning on his face. "It's like a creature out of some nightmare." "A creature out of a nightmare, or more accurately, out of time," Holmes corrected, a glint in his eye. "This, my dear Lestrade, is the lair of your giant rat." Back in the sanctuary of Baker Street, the fire roared. Holmes spent the better part of the afternoon hunched over his chemical bench, peering intensely through his brass microscope at the hair samples we had retrieved. He had dismissed Lestrade with a terse instruction to maintain the official deception and keep his men on high alert for subterranean disturbances. "The microscopic structure of the medulla is incontrovertible, Watson," Holmes declared at last, turning away from his bench and wiping his hands on a rag. He paced before the fireplace, grabbing a volume on prehistoric mammals. The bone fragments, the specific nature of the destructive force, the unique dental pattern, and finally the cellular makeup of the follicle, all point to one astonishing conclusion. He spread a large map of the world across the table, his finger tracing a line from Sumatra to London. Sir Reginald Thorne craved the ultimate addition to his collection of the impossible, finally locating it in the remote, unexplored jungles of Sumatra. "What exactly has he brought to our shores, Holmes?" I pressed, my scientific curiosity thoroughly piqued despite the lingering sense of dread. "We are dealing with a relic from a forgotten epoch, a giant prehistoric rodent, a species thought to have vanished from the face of the earth millions of years ago. Imagine a capybara possessing the bulk of a small rhinoceros, the ferocity of a wolverine, and teeth capable of shearing through steel. It is a creature of immense strength, accustomed to subterranean living, representing a true force of primeval nature. Holmes tapped the open book. I believe we are tracking a specimen of a truly monstrous Rhizomys giganteus, an exaggerated cousin of the known bamboo rat, scaled to terrifying proportions. Its natural habitat involves burrowing through dense jungle soil and rock, developing incredible musculature and powerful gnawing capabilities. Thorne, through his network of unscrupulous contacts, had it captured in the deepest Sumatran wilderness and transported aboard the Matilda Briggs. "Good heavens!" I exclaimed. "How did it manage to escape such heavy confinement?" A critical securing mechanism failed during the stress of unloading, causing panic among the native handlers unaccustomed to the cold English rain and the beast's immense power. Once free on the docks amidst the noise and the unfamiliar urban landscape, it bolted, seeking the nearest dark, confined space. "Tell me, Watson, where in London does one find the largest, darkest, and most extensive network of subterranean passages?" "The sewers," I gasped, the pieces falling into place with chilling precision. "Precisely. London's vast underbelly is a forgotten city beneath our feet, serving as a perfect sanctuary for a creature accustomed to burrowing. It is seeking shelter, water, and perhaps food. The thought of what constitutes food for a creature of that size and disposition in the London sewers truly discomfits me." A cold dread seeped into my bones. "Are you suggesting this giant rat is actively hunting beneath our feet?" "It is beyond simply being loose, Watson. It is establishing a territory," Holmes replied grimly. "Given its size and nature, it will be incredibly difficult to track. The authorities are in a state of deliberate denial, desperate to prevent a public panic. A creature of that destructive power surfacing in a populated area would cause untold havoc." Holmes began laying out a detailed map of London's subterranean network, acquired through his usual inexplicable channels. "We must anticipate its movements. Such a creature requires access to water and a certain degree of warmth. It will be drawn to areas with minimal human activity while remaining close to a steady food source. I postulate it will follow the main sewer arteries, seeking out larger disused vaults or forgotten crypts as temporary lairs." For the next 2 days, Holmes immersed himself in preparation, assembling a formidable array of equipment. He produced a custom-built tranquilizer rifle, loading darts with a potent, fast-acting sedative he himself had concocted over the Bunsen burner. Killing it would destroy a unique biological specimen, a living window into a prehistoric world, he explained as he packed his kit. "We must capture it alive." It was on the 3rd night that Holmes declared us ready. The rain had ceased, leaving behind a thick, chilling fog that served as a perfect shroud for our clandestine mission. Lestrade met us at a discreet entrance to the sewer system near the Tower of London, accompanied by 2 of his most trusted plainclothesmen. "We have reports of a collapse in an old cellar near Wapping," Lestrade whispered, his face pale. "Massive damage, and a night watchman has vanished entirely." "That confirms its trajectory," Holmes replied, his eyes gleaming in the lamplight. It is moving towards the older, more derelict sections of the city, seeking deeper, undisturbed lairs. Follow me, gentlemen. We are entering a world few men ever see. The descent into the London sewers was an assault on the senses. The oppressive darkness, barely alleviated by our lamps, pressed in on us. The air hung thick and cloying, coating our throats with the stench of decay, sewerage, and damp earth. The sound of our footsteps echoed eerily in the vast tunnels, mingled with the constant gurgle and rush of unseen water. Holmes led the way with silent assurance, his acetylene lamp casting grotesque shadows on the brick walls. He pointed out subtle disturbances in the slime and refuse underfoot. A faint trail, a displaced brick, a peculiar scraping mark. We progressed deeper. The tunnels grew larger, leading us into ancient forgotten sections of the network that predated even the Roman occupation. The air grew colder, drier, suggesting we were beneath older, deeper foundations. Here, the refuse of modern London gave way to centuries of accumulated silt and forgotten detritus. Suddenly, Holmes held up a hand, freezing us in our tracks. From the echoing darkness ahead, a sound reached us. A low, guttural growl resonated through the brickwork, followed by a series of heavy, scraping thuds. Something immense was moving in the confines of the tunnel ahead. "By Jove!" Lestrade breathed, his hand instinctively going to his revolver. "It's close!" "Form a line behind me, gentlemen," Holmes ordered, his voice barely a whisper. "Watson, prepare your revolver with my custom tranquilizer darts. Lestrade, your men will provide covering fire only if the beast charges, but our primary objective remains a live capture." We advanced with extreme caution, our lamps slicing through the oppressive gloom. The tunnel opened into a vast vaulted chamber, an ancient forgotten crypt repurposed centuries ago. In the center of this cavernous space, illuminated by the harsh glare of our lamps, stood a sight that drove the breath from my lungs and rooted my boots to the damp stone. It was colossal. The giant rat of Sumatra stood perhaps 5 feet at the shoulder, boasting a body the length of a small horse, entirely encased in coarse dark brown fur that bristled with primal energy. Its disproportionately large head featured beady obsidian eyes, reflecting our lamps like fiery coals. 2 immense yellowed incisors, each the size of a man's forearm, protruded from its upper jaw. Its paws, ending in massive claws, were actively tearing at a section of ancient masonry, sending dust and debris showering around it. As our lights hit it, the creature ceased its destructive activity. It turned its massive head towards us, letting out a terrifying, high-pitched squeal that reverberated through the chamber, rattling our very bones. It coiled its body, its powerful legs tensing. "Hold your fire!" Holmes commanded, seeing Lestrade's men raise their service weapons in panic. "Watson, aim for the shoulder muscle. A clean shot is imperative." The creature lunged, a blur of fur and muscle moving incredibly fast for its size. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I forced myself to raise the modified revolver, aligning the crude sights as best I could in the chaotic light. The world narrowed to the monstrous target. Bang! My shot rang out. My dart found its mark, embedding itself in the creature's thick shoulder muscle. The effect was delayed by the beast's sheer mass. The giant rat snarled, a sound of pure fury, and continued its charge. Lestrade's men broke discipline, firing their revolvers wildly. The bullet sparked harmlessly off the damp stone walls or grazed the creature's thick hide, only succeeding in enraging it further. Holmes, demonstrating incredible agility, sidestepped the charging beast and raised his acetylene lamp, twisting the valve to unleash a blinding flare of white light directly into the creature's sensitive subterranean eyes. The monster shrieked, skidding on the slick stones and shaking its massive head in temporary blindness. "Now, Watson, the neck!" Holmes shouted over the din. I reloaded with trembling hands. As the creature momentarily paused, disoriented by the brilliant light, I fired again. This time the dart sank deep into the softer tissue of its neck. The combined dose of Holmes's sedative finally took hold. The creature's furious charge broke into a clumsy stumble. Its mighty legs buckled and it sank to its haunches. The terrifying squeals softened to a series of deep, guttural groans. Its beady eyes flickered, losing their fiery malevolence as the drug dragged it into unconsciousness. Within moments, the monstrous beast collapsed entirely, its mountainous bulk striking the ancient stone floor with a reverberating thud that shook the entire crypt. It lay there, a mountain of fur and muscle, breathing heavily, completely subdued. A profound silence descended upon the chamber, broken only by the drip of water and our own ragged breathing. Lestrade's men slowly lowered their weapons, faces pale with awe and disbelief. "Good heavens, Holmes," I managed, my voice hoarse. "We did it." Holmes approached the colossal creature cautiously, confirming its unconscious state. He knelt beside it, examining its massive teeth and claws, a look of profound respect on his sharp features. "A magnificent specimen, Watson. The greatest zoological discovery of the century, destined to remain completely unknown to the general public." The aftermath of the giant rat's capture was handled with an efficiency that bordered on the terrifying. Upon our return to the surface, we found the area cordoned off, not by standard police, but by stern men in unmarked coats. Days later, back in the quiet sanctuary of Baker Street, the spring rain once again pattered against the window panes. I found myself drafting the final notes of the case. "It is a truly astonishing tale, Holmes," I remarked. "A prehistoric monster beneath London, a powerful magnate, and a seamless government cover-up. It is almost too incredible to believe." Holmes, his violin once again crooning a melancholy air, smiled knowingly. "The cover-up was seamless because it was orchestrated by my brother, Mycroft. I sent him a telegram the moment we identified the species. He, representing the government's more discreet interests, arranged the extraction team waiting for us above the sewers." I stared at him in astonishment. "Mycroft? Then what of Sir Reginald Thorne?" "Mycroft paid him a very private visit," Holmes explained, setting his bow down. "Thorne was presented with a choice: face public ruin and criminal negligence charges for the destruction of the docks and the missing watchman, or quietly fund a highly secure subterranean zoological facility under Mycroft's direct purview to house his prize. And the public will never know. Indeed, Watson, the general populace finds comfort in the mundane, preferring their monsters safely confined to myths and legends. The truth is rarely palatable to the ordinary palate." He reached for his violin once more. "We, however, know the truth, my dear fellow. That is the greater satisfaction. We have wrestled with the impossible and emerged victorious. even if the laurels remain forever in the shadows. And so the case of the Matilda Briggs and the giant rat of Sumatra entered the vast unpublished annals of our adventures, remaining a cryptic footnote in an untold narrative, a testament to the hidden wonders and terrors that lurk just beneath the thin veneer of our everyday world. The shadows may be receding for now, but another mystery awaits. Do not forget to check out our Patreon to hear it before anyone else.